The biggest barrier I faced this semester was I was struggling in one of my classes. So I reached out to my professor and worked out extra credit and other things I could do to help improve my grade. And to overcome that barrier, what I did was reach out and communicate with my professor. And a piece of advice I would give to a professor or advisor to help support me better would maybe be just trying to get to know the students on like an individual level instead of briefly instead of just I haven't really heard much from advisors in that way, but that's really it.
So, my biggest barrier that I've faced and continue to face really is just lack of. I don't know the exact word. I want to say motivation, but that feels wrong. I guess drive is another way you could put it. Essentially, I'm a bit lazy. I don't I don't put my all into everything as often as I should, and that's kind of just been a barrier for me for the longest time. It still affects me even now. Overcoming said barrier was mostly just in a sense of knowing I needed to get something done, so I do it, but usually do it like at the last minute, which will, I think, I don't know if I can fix that problem. The goal is to one day, but right now I'm just not really, not really able to. I'm kind of stuck with that. So, but knowing that I need to get it done and turn it in will eventually usually drive me to get it done, even if it's not in the timeliest of manners as it could be. Honestly, my professors have been really good about this, but genuinely, if someone is going through something similar to me, just push them. Just genuinely push them to keep going and to get it done. Sometimes that's just what people need. They just need a voice to tell them, hey, you can do this, you got this, get it going. One of my professors helped me with one of the homeworks I had to do, and I was technically late on it, but even with me being late, he was willing to help me through it, figure it out. He even extended, not the deadline, but the amount of time I could turn it in with a penalty, and that helped out quite a bit, actually, with motivation to get it done. Just the help and being told to focus on certain things and get them done. That helped, actually, quite a bit. It got me for the next homework that came up for that, just to start up sooner, because I may very well have questions and be confused, but that little bit of help pushed me a bit further than what I was expecting. But my professors have been good about that. But just to any professor, if you see someone going through something similar, just push them to keep going and to put as much effort into things as they can. Will it always help? Probably not, but that little bit can help a lot of people. Just keep that in mind. That's all.
Okay, so I would say the biggest barrier I faced this semester was definitely a lack of self-confidence and overall feeling of insecurity that I was not operating on the level I should be at this point in my educational career. You know, I'm currently a senior taking my capstone this semester, and I did not feel like I was living up to the expectations or the standards I felt like I should have been living up to or like proving. And, you know, it would be like not being able to submit assignments in on time or not coming to class fully prepared, stuff like that. And so, overall insecurity. And so I overcame that barrier through honest communication with my professor. One of our assignments is to have a weekly journal where we talk about what work we did and like what progress we made on our overall research project. And in that journal, I opened up about like what progress I've made in that week, but also that I felt dissatisfied with myself and that I was disappointed in myself in not being able to live up to the standards that I imagined that I should be living up to, but also the ones I set for myself, you know. And so being able to open up like that with my professor really helped me like feel that this isn't just a class to get assignments in on time, that we're submitting drafts And we do a lot of workshopping in the class because that's the point of being able to develop your projects with your classmates, with your professor, and stuff like that. So being able to fully understand that, it's just like, I don't need to put a finished product always out here. Like, the primary reason and goal of this is to develop something you're satisfied with. So, and I got that from feedback from that professor. And so I would definitely use that as a piece of advice for professors. It's just like opening up a line of clear communication like that with students so they feel comfortable and communicating that, hey, I'm not feeling totally confident in what I'm doing or where I'm at in this class. So being able to have that line of communication is definitely highly valuable.
The biggest barrier that I faced this semester was financial strain, and I overcame that barrier by applying to scholarships. One piece of advice I would give to a professor or advisor to help support students better is to spread awareness about campus groups, events, and activities so students can better make friends.
The biggest barrier I faced this semester was time management between my classes and maintaining good mental health and a social life with friends and family. How I overcame them was I learned to schedule things, plan them out in my calendar so I won't be late to anything or miss anything, because that was my biggest problem. I was being late to events that I really wanted to be there for, or call certain people back or email certain people back, and I would just forget and it would slip my mind. So I learned to put things in my calendar, really utilize a Google Calendar. Also, the workload from all my classes, because I had 5 of them, it dropped down to 3 since the other 2 ended. So it helped really loosen up my load and open up my schedule. Advice I would give out to a professor is to be more communicative and available to your students. In the past, I've had professors not respond when I really needed them till weeks after the fact. And at that point, I had to seek help elsewhere. And I would say the same for advisors. Be there for your students, especially freshmen, because my first year, I was confused on how a lot of things worked. And having some type of advising really helped make things clear so I can kind of set myself onto a good path, since I already understood how classes, registration, and things work. My first year, I was really confused on a lot of it, but it took my advisor to be able to break it down for me and understand so I could kind of use her help, but at the same time, like, kind of direct myself onto a good path.
The biggest barrier that I faced this semester was my own mental health. What really helped me overcome that barrier was asking for help. It took me a lot of courage and honestly a lot of time to reach out and ask for help. But once I did, I was able to receive that, and I was able to receive kindness and grace. One piece of advice that I would give to a professor, an advisor, really anyone, is don't wait for people to come to you and ask for help. If you notice someone is struggling and you are in a position to offer help, then build that bridge, reach out and offer that helping hand. Don't wait for someone to come to you.
The biggest barrier I faced this semester was scheduling conflicts while trying to complete my degree requirements. I'm graduating in December and have 4 remaining classes, but 2 of them were scheduled at the same time on the same day, with no alternative options available. To address this issue, I explored multiple solutions, including reaching out to my academic advisor and professors to discuss possible accommodations. I also looked into independent study options, course substitutions, or taking one of the classes at a different institution through a transfer agreement. After evaluating my options, I worked with my advisor to create the best possible schedule to ensure that I could graduate on time. I would encourage professors and advisors to advocate for more flexible course scheduling, especially for students near graduation. Offering asynchronous or hybrid options, independent study alternatives, or additional course selections could help prevent scheduling conflicts that might delay graduation.
The biggest barrier I face this semester will most definitely have to be time management, especially with having a full-time job and a full course load. And 2 of those classes was 7-week classes, accelerated classes. I underestimated how much time and energy that would take, both scholastically and from my job. And it started affecting my ability to keep up with the reading and assignments. I missed a few deadlines early on, and that was a wake-up call for me. And how I overcame this, I started using a planner, and I would start breaking up assignments into smaller steps so that I can complete the assignments on time. And I plan my week ahead just so I can be aware and so I can be on time when it comes to my assignments. It was a challenge at first, but it taught me a lot of discipline and how to prioritize what I need to do. And the piece of advice that I would give to a professor is to communicate or have a better communication with your students. And what I mean by that is sometimes, especially online, when you have homework on another website and you don't post like the due dates, that could really mess with people. It's been a few times where I missed a few assignments and I missed one exam because I didn't know it was coming up because I didn't get a notification on Canvas. So I say just having better communication and a better way of sending out notifications, telling the students when the due date is.
The biggest barrier I faced this semester was time management. With working full-time and doing school full-time, it was essential that I put effort towards organization or meeting deadlines was a challenge for me. I overcame that barrier by setting up and maintaining a calendar for each week. I would set aside time on Sunday to plan out my upcoming weekly schedule, which would give me a heads up on my workload and the amount of free time I would really have in between working and studying. The one piece of advice I would give to a professor or advisor to help me would be in terms of organization. The more organized you are, the better organized and successful I can be in the class. Especially since being online, I fully rely on communication since I am not face-to-face. Good and consistent organization allows me to stay and feel successful in my studies.
My biggest barrier I faced was passing Bio 167. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to pass and will have to retake this class in the summer. It was a challenging experience and I struggled with the course structure. One piece of advice I would give my professor and advisors is to understand that this is not the only class we have and that Bio 167 is already difficult on its own. I think having more small assignments and quizzes would be more helpful rather than relying mostly on big exams for both lab and lecture. It's a lot to manage and smaller assessments would give students more opportunity to learn and improve along the way. I appreciate this opportunity to share my thoughts, and I hope this helps professors and advisors better support students like me in the future. Thank you.
For question 1, what was the biggest barrier you faced this semester? The biggest barrier I faced this semester was creating a weekly framework in which I can get all of my assignments done because this semester was the biggest workload I took on, and there was moments where I didn't necessarily have the best framework and I was doing all my assignments when they were due on Tuesday, but I've done my best to get away from that and to create a weekly framework of doing a couple assignments every day because that is truly the best way so I don't feel like I'm procrastinating. For question 2, how did you overcome that barrier? Well, I overcame it by, honestly, I just got sick and tired of always being behind. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to just work ahead a little bit, stay up a little later, and it helped me get things done. And it really, perseverance was the overcoming factor. Question 3, what is one piece of advice you would give to a professor or advisor to help them support you better? Honestly, I don't meet too many professors who aren't like really good at what they do. A lot of them are like understanding. They communicate clearly. So it's like I honestly never had an issue where I was like, oh, this professor needs help because he's not doing his job right. Honestly, a lot of them are great. I can't think of any where it's like, oh, they should do this better. Because I think they understand we're busy. But there's also a standard of like, if you're too busy to do college, you shouldn't have signed up, so that's how I look at it.
A barrier that I faced this year and I overcame was school and work. It was very challenging in the middle, of course. I work full time with kids, 10:30 to 6:30, and my day is very hectic. I'm lucky that I have a job that kind of balance out my schedule. It was a little challenging trying to make it to some events that I really wanted to go to and really be involved, but work was really cutting into, and I say that was the biggest barrier that I faced. And it was very challenging and very hard for me. I definitely will say that work was cutting into a lot of networking opportunities. So most definitely my job has been the biggest threat of them all. LOL. How did I overcome this? I will schedule out my day and put stuff on my to-do list. And sometimes I will schedule days off of work ahead of time to kind of alleviate some of that stress I had with homework, because homework was piling up in the middle of the semester out of nowhere. But most definitely just working and scheduling out my plan, organizing my life. That kind of helped me very well. One advice I would give to my professors is not to be so hard when it comes to class time and having a camera on. Sometimes I'm not going to have my camera on because, I may have to go to work at a certain time and I cannot call off every single class time for your class. I just want to let professors know that, cut some of the students some slack. It would be nice. I get it that having the camera off every time is kind of like a no, but it's kind of challenging when I have a day of work and I have to cut my camera off sometimes, or in that moment and then cut it back on. Don't duck me down for points. It's not fair, in my opinion. My advisors, I would say nothing for real. My advisors have been very helpful and very cohesive and very quick with information and letting me know things. And yeah, I would say it's been a great year. It's been a great season. So can't wait for the next one. Thank you so much. Have a great one.
What you got to lose? This your last chance. You ain't eating. Oh, you ain't eating? That's the way to be great. You gotta eat. When you look at great, break it down. It say eat in it. Everything we do, you should have that appetite to go after it. No matter what, you gotta keep going. If you wanna be great, keep it going. You almost at that checker flag. First to last, at least you gave the best you had. A lot of obstacles, but we gon' overcome those. Eyes forward, head up, and stay 10 toes. You can do it, never lose your faith though. You only lose if your reflection say so. Where you been don't define where you're going. Embrace the struggle and just keep going.
First to last, at least you gave the best you had. You gotta dig. I need you to give yourself life. Dig inside yourself and understand that you great and you have what it takes to become whatever you want to be. But you gotta work for it. You gotta eat. Remember, you gotta be starving. Ask yourself, is this worth going after? Is it really worth going after? If it's really worth going after, you gonna give it all you got because you hungry, and that's what it takes to be great. You gotta eat like I keep saying.
Great, what you work for? If you tryna be great, what you sleeping for? If you tryna be great, it's a process. If you tryna be great, respect the process. If you tryna be great, allow the process. If you tryna be great, go get the information. If you tryna be great, build that relationship. If you tryna be great, respect your If you trying to be great,
keep it going. You almost at that checker flag. A lot of obstacles, but we gon' overcome those. You can do it. Never lose your faith, though. Where you been don't define where you going.